This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Handicappers Report. Alongside Jeff Carl, I am Anthony Mormino on this final day of January, 48 hours out from the Super Bowl, but certainly a manageable winter day out there in the Capital District. Not too cold, no snow. Hopefully we're going to run around the country waiting to see if Gulfstream Park runs on the turf. We had an interesting day in the United States on Wednesday. I was saying to Seth yesterday, Jeff, that the best of my knowledge, there were 3 turf races at Turf Paradise on Wednesday, and that constituted the entire turf season. It's turf races on Wednesday. Now, Santa Anita was closed, and they were off the turf at Gulfstream, as they were also yesterday, and they were off the turf at Tampa. Tampa was closed yesterday, so we'll see how it plays out. I made the comment on the network. It still amazes me that really Gulfstream Park is sort of taken where Naira was years ago. My point being, Gulfstreampark.com, Gulfstream Park Twitter, are not the places for which I'm getting my first news. And that, to me, is amazing. You're the one who makes the news first. So you would just say, listen, because, I mean, we all understand.
What is your source? What do you have to go to find it?
Well, like I said, yesterday I just had a guy down there betting horses who I know. And that's why I said it's not official.
I agree with you.
It's it's not official. I said, but I'm trusting this person, so go for it. Seth actually had Gulfstream Park. I had Naira yesterday. Got the late pick 4, which we'll discuss in a minute. So I talked about this in the turf course at Naira many moons ago. It just, the idea is to drive people to your website to get business. So if Gulfstream Park said, I'll just give you a quick story, like we're off the turf. My son takes skiing lessons on Sunday. We've had some rough weather the last 2 Sundays, 2 different types. And kudos to this small operation. Their website has a banner. The website's prominent colors are white and blue. They had in red the crawl at the top. Yes, we are open. Yes, the lessons are. It take you 5 seconds to know the status.
I was in here on Wednesday.
Yes, you were. Thank you very much, by the way.
No problem whatsoever. I was here on Wednesday, and I was asking Seth, did he think Gulfstream was going to be on the turf? And I went on their website and could not find it.
Yeah.
In about the minute or 2 we had in between, during the break, couldn't find it.
That to me is a problem. I mean, you might say it's a little thing, it's a big thing. Listen, if you're betting horses in this day and age, or in the information age, it's about getting race. The past performance is 3 days out now versus the old days of getting it 5 hours out. It's about finding out they're off the turf at 7:30 in the morning, and saying, well, listen, I got to revise. Now, it puts you in a bad spot because, heck, then you got to handicap who you think is coming out. But that's just my point. It seems to me to make sense. Like if Capital Off-Track Betting was closed, whatever that means, well, on Palm Sunday and on Easter, we put on our network that we're closed. We don't expect the newspaper or somebody else to put Capital Off-Track Betting is closed. We want you to get information about us, from us, and more importantly, first and early, etc. So that's just me. A couple of things yesterday. I mean, I think our regular viewers know that I am not a horizontal better. So I don't want to. But the pick 4 yesterday in New York, not the fact that the parlay came back 312 and the pick 4 came back 562, which is not only stupendous, it's where I think you like to be. This was the part that amazed me in New York. And I want to just make a quick note as a function of field size and the price. Here we go. In the late pick 4 yesterday, which came back under 602, and you people out there know what I'm talking about, favorite, second choice. If this was every day in New York, I'd find a way to become a horizontal player. Now, field size wasn't even too bad either. 7, 10, 5, and 8. And really, you only had in the third leg, you beat the 4-5 shot with the 5-2 shot. Well, I'm going to presume if you're betting horizontals, it's not 4 singles. But if you told me I could have favorite, second choice, and it's not fields of 13, and I could come back almost 80% above the parlay, that's it. So, I mean, that's rare for me, but we got 4 late, and as I said, they didn't need the photo finish camera in 7 out of the 9 yesterday in New York. But one of the ones they did, I was saying to Jeff, I never count the days off when I speak. Like, for example, I mean, I know technically it's not true, but Taylor Rice has won 6 on back-to-back days. Dark days to me don't count factually. They didn't run. They've run, on the 2 days they've run, she's won 6, 4 and 2. And how about Irad Ortiz? Flies down to Florida, which I couldn't figure out. Wins on Wednesday, flies back to New York. It wasn't a big horse. He was down there to ride.
Right.
I couldn't figure that out. One of the few times I'd actually be interested in what an agent has to say. But he went down to Gulfstream, won a race, came back to New York, and the Ortiz brothers wins again. And also, Taylor Rice has had 6 her last 2 days of work. That's not the leader in the clubhouse.
Who is?
Trevor McCarthy.
Oh, yes, he won 8, right?
7.
7, okay.
4 and 3.
Yeah,
But
I saw the 4-bagger. I didn't see the 3-bagger.
Also, I didn't want to bog our guys down back in Schenectady, but if you get a chance, go to capitalotbbet.com with your Capital Bets account. Check out the 3rd race yesterday. I don't think it's going to be whatever those letters are that say moment of the year in the sport, because it's Laurel on a weekday. It's the 3rd race. I think it was a claimer. Now, I'll ask the former jockey. Trevor McCarthy gets banged out of the gate. And one of the great things about Laurel in sprint races, they give you the split screen head-on. Gets banged out of the gate, immediately loses his irons. And you can see him just flailing. He's the number 3 horse, so he wins the race. And actually, Dave Rodman, probably because he got into the race and then put in a great charge, Dave probably just presumed he must have got his bearings back. And then Dave realized, because he was in like the 6th path, well, not only that he was going to win, but Trevor never had his irons.
Never did.
Never got it back. He's like, he's calling a call, and then he's like, yeah, you have to listen to it. But he eventually realizes, because like I said, he's the outside most horse. He can now see Trevor's leg, and he knows it's not in the iron. What's the best you ever did out of the irons?
I certainly didn't win.
No. That's my point. It's,
and I tell
usually
you,
the other jockeys protect you. They box you in. They make it. It's a real problem.
When you lose your irons, it's very difficult to get them back because as the horses move and they're bouncing around. So it's really hard to get your feet into them. They're only about that wide anyway. Did he kick both feet out? I have to go back and watch the race.
He didn't do anything voluntarily. He was completely dislodged by the bump at the start.
I'm going to watch it during the break.
It wasn't like your move on half a hoofer, but
well, half a hoofer, my left foot was hung up in my stirrup.
Oh,
it was the stirrup had twisted, and it was hung up. So if I had come off, I would have been.
I'm going to bring that in someday.
Go ahead. Yes,
I have the national news of Jeff Carl on half a hoofer when Antley got. But 3rd race yesterday, the horse's name was Chi-Chi's Pride, which, by the way, also in the 7 that Trevor's won, I think only maybe 2 are the chalk, which is something I always look at. But he's not going to get it. It was a claiming 5,000 at Laurel on Thursday, January 30th. But to me, they're going to have to go a long way because, as Jeff said, nobody ever wins. You
usually you pull up. Usually you pull the horse up.
It's not good. You don't. Let me get to. You don't control the horse anymore, right? I mean, whatever control you have, right? Your legs.
Well, you don't have a heck of a lot of balance. You don't have a heck of a lot of control. But fortunately, I'm going to have to watch the race in the break.
And we know you weren't going 40 miles an hour in your debut, but they were going. Winners usually go about 37 miles an hour at some point in the race.
Pace. And probably the horse was running nice and straight and doing most of the work for him. So.
It did help, but it's a good call because then you can tell it, Dave Ryder. No, he doesn't have his iron. So Trevor McCarthy is going great
very
guns.
well. Taylor Rice is going very well.
Yeah.
Look, she's 26% this meet.
I don't know if I was with you or Seth, but a couple of weeks ago when we were in the midst of what I thought was a very pronounced bias, she broke nicely, cleared the field, and she dropped over to the rail, which was death. And this was like the 7th or 8th race, 9th race of the day. I think the 8th race. She made a mistake. She needed to be in the 3 or 4 path that day, but she was young and youthful, and I said she did everything right, except she wasn't paying attention to the earlier races. Now, that's subjective, but she's learned her lessons, as I said. I forget the dark days. She's won 6 on back-to-back days.
We got 10 races to get through at Gulfstream Park, and as Anthony says, as of right now, we don't know if they're going to be on the turf, but he's going to take a quick look.
Let's see if my man is betting horses this morning.
Okay,
I mean, he is betting
quick
horses.
look before we jump into it.
We'll go.
Were you ready to go?
Well, the first one's not a turf race. So
okay. 6 furlongs is the opener. It is a claiming event for 3-year-olds. The claiming price is $25,000.
And let's keep that positive mojo from the New York Racing Association back to Gulfstream Park in the opener. 3-2-7, ladies and gentlemen. CNO gets my top pick. Dale Roman sends out this runner for a tag for the first time in the 5th career start. Scored in the career debut very impressively. That was at Ellis Park on the dirt in the summertime. The next stop was on the poly track at Arlington Park in the Arlington, Washington Futurity. That went, okay, we hit the board. Now, since then, has raced a mile, shortens back up to 6 for the first time for this offspring of Silver Train since the career debut. We get Joe Rocco Jr. in the saddle location. Mr. Joe won a race yesterday afternoon for a second, right next door in the starting gate, number 2. He's got talent. Now, you know, you don't have to be a rocket scientist that, you know, you saw in the spring that Dylan Davis had gotten himself into Wesley Ward's barn, and that's just a very, very, very good thing. He rides this horse, making the 4th career start, early season Churchill Downs debut, victory under Joel Rosario. They tried stakes action on the turf over at Colonial after that. Only the 2nd start since January 13th. Tries to make it 3 for 4 lifetime, coming back for a tag after scoring a victory in the slop at Gulfstream. 4/3, the outside horse, number 7, Hardy Congrats, who has already been claimed twice in the 5 previous races. Michael Pino had a victory the other day for the good guys. This horse won by a pole coming out of the Henry Colazzo barn. Henry Scoop found the winner's circle off of an August 3rd layoff that was on October 13th at Gulfstream Park, and then won in the slop, taking on winners for the first time, not restricted winners, comes back for $5,000 more. 3-2-7 in the opener.
The second race at Gulfstream Park is 1 mile. It is a claiming event for 4 and up. Claiming price is $12,500.
And we are desperately trying to get as the turf racing is in our near future.
I'm not getting anything on my Twitter feed.
Yeah, it's the nature of the beast right at this moment, unfortunately. 2-4-3. I said this before about, you know, we at Capital Off-Track Betting, the public handicappers, we submit our selections usually the day before the first race is run, the day before. Not technically. You have to have it in by 1, and the double is in sometimes now. But I've talked about Abdiel Jayan, who had a stunning victory at Gulfstream Park yesterday. I had talked about how over the last 2 or 3 weeks, things have been going much, much better. And we are on the 5-2 shop coming out of the powerful Jorge Navarro barn. And as you know, I had no idea who Jorge Navarro was until about 8-9 months ago. Geez, almost 10 months ago. When he started lighting up the board, Jorge is the trainer, Josh is the jockey. This is a sharp operation, and obviously with the morning line odds, that's going to supersede an under-the-radar jockey at the moment. For his second, number 4, Explosive Image. First off, the $12,500 claim. Before that, scored an impressive victory at Gulfstream Park. For third, number 3, Tiz Liberty, who's 4-1, and it surprised me that this horse is like 5 for 9 lifetime on the dirt. And if you look at this field, you're thinking, how many horses running in 12-5 claimers are 5 for 9 on a dirt-fast racetrack for this offspring of Tiz Now, coming back at a mile after being an explosive winner, second off the 11-month layoff, racing the mile in starter allowance. 2, 4, 3.
Moving along to race number 3 at Gulfstream Park, 7 furlongs. It is a claiming event for fillies and mares 4 and up, which have never won 2 races. The claiming price is $10,000.
You can see how infrequently I use Twitter. I got it off my phone yesterday. My iPad can't remember the last time I was on Twitter. One quick mention also. I had a horse who was not in my mix, but just to let you know, in the second race, Alex's Vision was cross-entered the other day, didn't go. 6-3-1, ladies and gentlemen. Tina's Utopian Vision gets my top pick. Taking on winners after breaking the maiden for 12-5, now makes the 5th career start in what has become one of my favorite conditions across the United States, because it makes for what I believe is very competitive racing, which is the 2L. And this operation, and I don't know how to pronounce his name, but as I punch names into my Excel spreadsheet, I can tell you that this is a very, very sharp barn. I always talk about, or I like to talk about Trevor McCarthy winning 7. Well, you know, sometimes Johnny V wins 4 or 5, and the average payout is $360. There's a relativity. For me, these horses are running better than odds, are running, you know, very consistently well out of this barn. For a second, number 3, Elusive Harmony, coming out of the same barn, not coupled in here, making the 3rd start since being claimed for $17,000. Raced well the first time and then regressed, so 3rd time off the summertime claim. I expect a move forward here for the 3 with Paco Lopez in the saddle, and this has been probably Paco Lopez second after Eddie Plisa, his go-to barn for having an outstanding meet. Jeff was talking about Taylor Rice over 25%. Well, Paco Lopez, who has been there every single day of this meet, and we know how deep the colony is, even though Johnny V just got back, is at almost 20%. And this is the second barn. For 3rd, number 1, Dolce Luna. Don Dolce lost yesterday. We'll see how Dolce Luna goes today. 6-3-1.
That's going to take us to race number 4 at Gulfstream Park. 5.5 furlongs. It is a maiden claiming event. For 3-year-olds, the claiming price is $12,500.
Well, folks, we're almost there. I just saw the symbol. We'll find out what they're doing. All right. Unlike, they have nothing. And good luck with that. They did post 2 hours ago, but it really has to do with more on-track people, etc. So I'm going to go with they're going to be on the turf. And the reason I mentioned that is coming up next will be there. 184, ladies and gentlemen. And as you know, we don't pick horses by the name. Number 1 is Talk Show Talent. Going out for the Ramseys, not an offspring of Kitten's Joy. Wesley Ward and Dylan Davis, horse making their career debut. From the rail, and I've talked about this often, and probably started first talking about it at Saratoga, especially with, I think the horse's name was Corvo in his debut for Todd Pletcher. Going 5 and 5.5, sprinting on the dirt. I'm less against than horses going 6, because you get into that turn quick, and usually the outside jocks have to then decide, the onus gets put on them. Do they want to continue the pressure? Well, obviously, giving up, they're at a disadvantage. They get to the turn so quickly, the inside horse has a chance to really skunk them. Unlike 6, you're just going to get punished for 2 furlongs before you enter the turn. So I'm less adverse to taking the rail horse going 5.5. For 2nd, number 8, Javier Negrete sends out this runner, and this barn ships in from Calder Racecourse, and we haven't seen as many Calder shippers in the Gulfstream. Why? Because they're running concurrently, and obviously it's not getting along. But one thing I'll say about the Calder horses is I love the foundation they get and usually get overlooked. Mr. Solis was riding this horse previously. He had a nice winner yesterday. And for 3rd, number 4, Earthly Delights. Jane Sibili, who scored on opening day with a ridiculous price winner, has had a very good meet coming off of the deck at her suspension, winning at 32%, second off, which is where we find ourselves today. 184,
And you mentioned Corvu in that race. It was announced this morning he's been retired. Yeah. So, go figure. Well, I mean, he was a brilliant 2-year-old, but
go easy with that word.
His last, so brilliant speed, let's say.
Yes.
And
good choice there.
Brilliant speed.
You know what surprised?
His last race was not good. Obviously,
well,
something went wrong.
I was always suspicious about Corvu for one reason. He ran far more than a Todd Pletcher juvenile ever runs, and I don't know
more
that
frequently.
Yeah, and
he
quickly came back, and that just told me that A, that's atypical, which I worry about. Secondly, that maybe they thought they had a brief window to get what they were going to get, and I'm not surprised that after those quick first 3 races, I wasn't surprised that it got negative, negative, negative. Now I am surprised that they retired, but that was, I think if you look at Todd Pletcher's juveniles over the last 10 years at Saratoga, I think Corvu's resume would be extremely atypical, and that I didn't think.
You know,
was a good
I was in the
especially
paddock.
for a horse that debuted at 3 to 5.
I was in the paddock for the Hopeful Stakes, and he was saddling right next to me. His body language wasn't good that day. He was not a happy horse. He kept freezing up.
He was lucky to win the debut at the short price.
Absolutely. Let's move on to race number 5 at Gulfstream Park. Right now scheduled for the turf. It's 1 mile. It is a claiming event for 4 and up, which have never won 2 races. Claiming price at $25,000.
We'll go forward here, ladies and gentlemen, on the turf. And this is a terrific race. The 4 is an MTO. 165. LeBron, the Irish bred, so I doubt that it's named after American basketball players, but might be. But I think we know how much I have been gushing about Galileo, the racehorse for 10 years, and the stallion even more. But I will say this. On the bottom side is Silverhawk, and he does not have to take a backseat to Sadler's Wells. Now, you would also think at distance of ground, but going the mile, to me, it's more important you get the pace at which to run at. This, to me, is about as well as a turf horse can have a pedigree. I draw down inside. 3rd start in the United States at 12 to 1 on the morning line. Not going to let that pedigree fly escape me. For a second, in a race that I thought was extremely deep, number 6, Good to Look. Now, the Disco Ricos, and I've gone down this line before, he's a son of City Dancer, who's a son of Dixieland Band. This is all turf pedigree. Disco Rico was a very nice mid-Atlantic sprinter about 12 years ago. Of course, I needed him. He beat Trippy, but he didn't get all the marbles for me. But that being said, he falls in that group of turf stallion influence. A mile is about as far as I think I want to go. Now, City Dancer himself was a nice miler, I think, until he ran against Housebuster. For 3rd, number 5, Face the Race. This is the line from Exchange, 2nd off of the claim. 165 and a very intriguing 5th.
There you have it, Anthony's selections, races 1 through 5 at Gulfstream Park. We need to take our first break. When we come back, we'll finish out today's Gulfstream Park card, so please stay tuned. You're watching the OTB TV Network.
I'm Seth Merrill. Join me weekdays at 10 for Racing Across America. We'll look at important races from around the country, get insight from top handicappers and analysts, and preview the upcoming week in racing. That's Racing Across America, weekdays at 10, right here on the OTB TV Network.
Here in upstate New York, no one provides bettors with more wagering options than Capital OTB. Our network of branch and easy bet locations stretches from the mid-Hudson Valley all the way to the Canadian border and west to central New York. So whether you need to place a bet, fund your Capital Bets account, or watch the next big race, all the action is just around the corner. A full list of our branch and easy bet locations can be found online at capitalotb.com. Capital OTB, the better and most convenient choice for wagering in upstate New York.
I got it. Watch me. I got it. Hey! I got something that makes me want to shout. I got something that tells me what it's all about. I got a move that tells me what to do. If you don't, brothers and sisters, then you won't know what it's all about.
Funding your Capital OTB bet account is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Easy money. clearly the fastest and easiest method of depositing funds into your account. Make deposits or withdrawals in just minutes. 2. Green Dot Money Pack gives you instant access to your funds. Green Dot Money Packs are available at thousands of retailers nationwide. And 3. MasterCard Visa. Simply click on the link from the funding page, enter your account information, and fund your account. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Hey race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, and amazing Vegas-style atmosphere. The Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany.
Welcome back to the Handicappers Report. Thank you for joining us on this Friday morning. Before the break, Anthony gave you his selections, races 1 through 5 at Gulfstream Park. We're still trying to ascertain whether or not they're on the turf or not. We don't have that answer for you quite yet. Let's move along to race number 6. It is scheduled for the turf at 5 furlongs, a maiden claiming event for 4 and up. The claiming price is $25,000.
Which leads me to believe that, as I said yesterday, if I'm now going to lean that they're going to run. In this case, I guess the old adage that no news is good news, this type of news. And as I said, I wasn't reaching out to get it from the Gulfstream Park people, so this is, ladies and gentlemen, I'm now apt to say that they're off the turf today. I'm not willing to go out on the same limb as yesterday. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Did I miss the note? It's not the information age. All right, folks, they're off the turf. I didn't, let's go forward. As I said, one of the things that years ago they talked about sprint races coming to New York. The idea was that when they were washed off the turf, that they would have far less change than the dirt races. I agree with that because I think of 5 furlong turf racing as sprints more than the color of the surface. 5, 6, 8. Lofty Heart, who's never run on dirt, but you're an offspring of Lionheart, who's the son of Tail of the Cat. Bottom side, you have Meadow Lake, folks. His Wet Tomlinson number is 412. Meadow Lake to me, he was one of the greatest 2-year-olds ever. And, stallion-wise, dud. But off racetrack is the only place he takes note for me. So Lofty Heart, Joe Rocco Jr. gets my top pick for second number 6. Drama Coach, first time in for a tag from Michael Maker, an offspring of Mount Brook, who is an offspring of Buckaroo. He only gets 381. He's way up there for me, especially when you have Glitterman on the bottom. And for third, number 8, Duke of Langford, Joe Orsino's runner. I like the debut. Now this offspring of Danzig gets it off the turf for again with moisture in the racetrack. Again, I expect to see improvement. 5, 6, 8.
7th race at Gulfstream Park was originally scheduled for the turf. It is a mile and a 16th. It is a starter allowance event for fillies and mares 4 and up.
And there are going to be a couple of races that, even if there are no scratches in them, the fact that they're going to be a different contest stinks. There was 2 turf races on the card that I thought you could live and breathe betting horses with the rest of our lives. This was one of them. I have no MTOs, and I've talked about these mile and 16th races, excluding the Holy Bull the other day. I think they've run about 15 mile 16th races, and I think 11 or 12 of them have been off the turfers. I don't know who's staying in. My selections are 8, 2, 5. Awesome again. You'd like to think that 8.5 furlongs dirt or turf would certainly work for this runner. Hasn't started since August. That was on the turf at the Spa, going out for Gary Contessa, who's doing well with limited runners down at Gulfstream Park for second. Number 2, Theater Star. Will intrigue me if Dale Romans runs this runner. He's an offspring of Warfront. The moisture might be attractive, but they were looking to take on winners on the turf for the first time. And for third, number 5, Pyrite Smokin', 8, 2, 5.
Let's move along to race number 8 at Gulfstream Park. 1 mile. It is an allowance optional claiming event for fillies and mares 4 and up.
2, 8, 6, my selections in here. And tap it easy. Kelly Breen sends out this runner with Corey Lannery in the saddle. They come off of a second-place finish after shipping in from a mid-September Laurel engagement. For a second, we go to the outside. Number 8, Karen McLaughlin, Darley. They add Lasix for the first time in the 5th career start. Makes the first start since March 31st when took on winners for the first time and finished third. I think it's fair to say something went wrong with his 4-year-old daughter of AP Indian for third, number 6, Ever Awesome. Lisa Lewis sends out this offspring of Awesome again with Alex Solis in the saddle, who is aboard the maiden victory in the 7th most recent effort, now takes on winners for the first time, 2-8-6.
The 9th at Gulfstream Park was originally scheduled for the turf. It is at 1 mile and a 16th. Allowance optional claiming event for 3-year-old fillies.
10-11 are the MTOs, folks, and this is a sad case where I don't know who's going to stay in the race to keep them as far out as possible, but they are going to dominate the wagering as I can see it. The number 10, Dame Dorothy, my top pick. This is Todd Pletcher, Bobby Flay, Javier Castellano, an offspring of Bernardini for second. Number 11, Bird Maker, an offspring of Empire Maker, who Ian Wilkes sends out. And this horse, to me, strikes me as a big upside. Why? Because this horse came to hand rapidly for Ian Wilkes. Now, broke from the rail in the debut at Keeneland. This horse might have been like an Ian Wilkes, much better than odds or much better than stats first time out. When that happens, folks, I always think it's the athlete. For third, we'll take number 6, going out for Eddie Plesa Jr., the offspring of Curlin. They add blinkers. If they were to stay in the 4th career start, it would be their first non-turf race. That's it.
That's it? Okay.
Yes.
The finale at Gulfstream Park, race number 10, was scheduled for the turf. It is now 5 furlongs. Starter optional claiming event for fillies and mares 4 and up.
And the MTO here is the 6, still up against it, that runner. 8, 9, 10 for me, Magic Mesa gets my top pick. Paco Lopez going out for Trisha Farrow. Number 9, Free West, making only the 2nd start since April. Had a start in December at Gulfstream. A nice warm-up, finishing 2nd. Kurt Zadie, a sharp trainer off of that nearly 8-month layoff. Took some serious time off before making the 2nd start. It should definitely way past the muscle regression stage. And for third, number 10, 8, 9, 10 in the finale.
And there you have it, Anthony's selections for today's Gulfstream Park card. We're going to take another break, and when we come back, you'll get my picks for Aqueduct. So please stay tuned. You're watching the OTB TV network.
This is Steve Beck. Join me Tuesday through Saturday here on OTB TV for At the Races, my Sirius XM daily news magazine of the thoroughbred industry. Handicapping, interviews, analysis, everything you could want. 6 a.m. OTB TV.
Hey, race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
Each morning on the OTB TV network, you get the very best in horse racing programming. Weekdays begin with the Handicappers Report, where professional handicappers share their selections and analysis of the day's racing. Followed by Racing Across America, a daily conversation with racing personalities from around the country. Saturdays include Down the Stretch, where Mark Casano speaks with the biggest names in racing. And Sunday mornings, it's Loose on the Lead, where Steve Bick and I offer news and a unique lineup of weekly guests. All here on the OTB TV network.
Wagering at CapitalOTBBet.com is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Capital Bet TV, the fastest and easiest online wagering experience where you can monitor 5 different tracks simultaneously. 2. Capital Bet Express. Its straightforward program layout and interactive handicapping information lets you build your wager quickly and efficiently. And 3. Capital Bet Pro, designed especially for the professional horse player. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Missed one of our TV shows? No worries. Now you can catch all your favorite programs online. Simply log on to CapitalOTB.com and click on the YouTube link at the bottom of the homepage. And look for our new podcast coming soon. CapitalOTB.com. Log on today.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Alongside Jeff Carlisle, I'm Anthony Mormino, turning our attention to the Big A now on this Friday afternoon. In the opener, we have claimers in for $16,000. Non-winners of 3 races in a lifetime, going 6.
They are listed as fast at Aqueduct today. In the opener, I went 3, 2, and 4. The number 3, Kata Pomeroy, is your 8-5 morning line favorite. Just missed in his prior event, which was a never won 3 life for $20,000, dropping down to 16. that's pretty much a parallel move. That was on January 5th. And, I wanted to beat him because he is a short price, but I just couldn't find anybody that's probably going to be able to go with him early and really threaten him. So I think he's going to be able to get out there and get nice and relaxed and have plenty to finish up with. Maybe the number 1 Upward chases him, but I read Ortiz is a little bit more of a patient rider. I don't see that happening. So, as I said, I tried to find somebody to beat Kata Pomeroy, but I don't think there's anybody that's going to run with him early. So let's put him into the top spot. For second, I went with the number 2, Sneaky Freud, who's exiting a non-threatening race for $20,000 starters. And I think this race should be a little bit easier. His last win was 3 races back where he won for 12-5, never won 2 life. So this is kind of what should have been the next logical step. He ran for Open 25 and was a decent 4th and then couldn't handle starters. But back to a level where he at least should be competitive. At 5-1, let's put him in the second spot. And for third and number 4, Tiger Willie was a closing second on January 12th for 12-5, never won 3 life. As I said, this is never won 3 life for 16, so that's not a major jump. He's 10-1 in the morning line and should be running late. Hopefully he'll get a piece of it. 3, 2, and 4 in the Aqueduct opener.
On to the second half of the early daily double open company, 4-year-olds and up. Billy Zamaris claimers in for $12,500. Also non-winners of 3 races a lifetime. They will race the mile.
I went 4, 6, and 3 here. Their number 4, Vade, is going to be stretching out for the first time, and I'm thinking he might be able to slip away. He's displayed early foot sprinting throughout his 9-race career. He's by Read the Footnotes, who, the mile is well within that scope, but out of a deputy minister mare, so I think the pedigree's there enough to get this mile distance. Bred by our friend Tracy Egan, who's the director of New York Thoroughbred Breeders, so this would be nice for her to get that. But Vade, I like him on the stretch out. He's been consecutive seconds his last 2 races. The last race being at this 12-5, never won 3 life level at 6 furlongs, was an even second. I think on the stretch out today, maybe she'll be able to slip away from this bunch. So let's put Vade into the top spot. For second, I went with the number 6, Maxana. Maxana just came up a nose short in her previous outing on January 19th. Again, same level. That was 12-5, never won 3 life. Going a mile and a 16th, and she's 8-1 in the morning line. She only got beat at nose. Before that, she won her 12-5, never won 2 life, so she made the next logical step. She was 10-1 that day. She's trained by Carlos Martins, having a very, very good meet. 8-1, I think that's quite generous for a filly that just got beat a nose and coming back in the exact same spot. So let's put Maxana into the second spot. For third, I went to the number 3, Hillary D, who's 2-1 in the morning line and is a park shipper. And I think these park shippers are starting to get some respect. We talked about it one day last week, Anthony, where they've had so little racing there. These horses might be a little bit on the fresh side.
Absolutely.
And when they come over here, and you're starting to see more and more park shippers, I think the word is spreading around the park's backstretch. You go over to Aqueduct. Money's a little bit better. Competition's not that tough. But, I'm going to try and beat Hillary D today. As I said, she's should fit at this level. She was second for $16,000, never won 3 life at Parks. Won her never won 2 life for $16,000 before that. But, she's going to be tough. But I'm going to try to beat her with Vade. 4, 6, and 3 in the Aqueduct second race.
On to the third. 3-year-olds, state breds, optional claimers in for $75. Non-winners of 1 other than also racing a mile.
Yeah, this is a race they brought back from a cancellation last week. I went 4, 3, and 1, 6-horse field. But there's a couple decent New York breds in here. I went with the number 4, Mental Iceberg, who's really actually a decent effort in the Jerome, where he got beat just a little bit more than 5 lengths. I remember I actually had him in my mix that day at 74-1. Wasn't too far from hitting the board that day, but back with New York breds, back into an allowance race. And you know what? You look at this horse's form. He's run 3 times. He's never been less than 32-1 in his debut when he broke his maiden on the turf at Belmont. But you know what? He's shown that he can handle the switch over to the dirt, especially the inner dirt. So let's put Mental Iceberg in the top spot for Greg DePrima. For second, I went with the number 3, Mark My Way. Going to be making his first dirt start. Broke his maiden in his second try on the Aqueduct turf back November 10th. By the sire Noon Mark, we've seen several Noon Marks handle the inner track quite well. And so maybe this horse will be able to make that transition without any issue whatsoever. And again, a little bit of a break doesn't necessarily cause me any concern. Trained by Linda Rice, Cornelia Velasquez at 6-1. I'm going to try to hook That one up with Mental Iceberg for a decent exacta. And for third, I went down to the inside to the number 1 Deceived, who was a distant third behind Samrat, who we're going to see in the Wither Stakes tomorrow. Nice New York bred's going to be taking on Uncle Si. You know what? Samrat won by 16 that day. So Deceived is only a little bit less than 3 lengths off of finishing second. So let's put him into the third spot. 4, 3, and 1 in the Aqueduct third race.
On to the fourth race, we have 4-year-olds and up, open company, maiden claimers in for 12-5, also racing a mile.
9, 5, and 1 here. The number 9 CCC is 0 for 27 lifetime. These are not the kind of horses I like to put on top, but I didn't see anything. I like horses that have, a limited number of starts, especially in these maiden claiming races. They haven't really proven they're not all that much quality. But CCC, as I said, is 0 for 27, but has been on the board her last 3 starts, all at 2 turns. Last time out, she was second, only got beat 3/4 of a length. That was on January 17th. She's not posted all that well, but this is not an outstanding field. So at 6-1 for trainer Mike Chevy, let's put her in the top spot. For second, I have the number 5, Little Tiffy, who's the 2-1 morning line favorite. And she tried 2 turns last year at the fairgrounds and wasn't successful. And then the last time she ran this distance, the mile on the inner track, she set the pace but couldn't hold off My Lucky Lou. And, was second, but was a distant second. She hasn't been successful on the stretch out in her 8-race career. So at 2-1, I think she's vulnerable. And the reason I went to CCC is, as I said, she's been on the board the last 3 times she's run going 2 turns. So that kind of made me go in that order of 9, 5. And for third, I went down to the inside to the number 1, Cake and Cookies, ridden by Taylor Rice. And as we mentioned, she's at 26% for this meet. She's doing very, very well. And, I think this Cake and Cookies should give Little Tiffy company on the front end. Cake and Cookie has displayed speed sprinting, has the 1 post. As I said, it has Taylor Rice. You expect her to go right out there. Hopefully they soften it up for my horse from the outside, the number 9, CCC, 9, 5, and 1. CCC should have CC Lopez on, don't you think?
You would think. You would think
I think John Imbrale
easy.
John Imbrale would have a lot of fun with that one, wouldn't he?
Absolutely.
But hopefully Mike Chevy can get it done with Manny Esquivel, who's actually riding a lot better right now. 9, 5, and 1, the Aqueduct fourth.
On to the 5th race, we have older affiliate mares, open company, starter allowance, dashing 5.5.
2, 1, and 8 here. This time I did go with the Park Shipper. The number 2, Conga Bell. I went with her because ran well last time at this same type of race, the $20,000 starter. Was favored that day, but was a good second, ran nice and evenly. And I think Conga Bell's going to have plenty of pace to run into. The delineation for this starter allowance is for horses that have started for a claiming price of $20,000 or less. So these are lower level horses. A lot of these horses are coming out of the $15,000, never win 2 life, never win 3 life kind of range. So I think Conga Bell, with a repeat performance of her race on January 10th, should be able to get the job done. Patricia Farrell bringing her back over here from Parks. For second, I went to her inside to the number 1, DD Renegade. Just that fresh legs angle. This horse coming in from Maryland for trainer Michael Trombetta. Hasn't run since June 1st, where she was second in an entry-level allowance race at Pimlico. Before that, she won her never won 2 life for $15,000, thus making her eligible for here. Fits the condition well. She's bringing her rider. Julian Pimentel is coming over to ride the horse. I think he's going to have to hustle DD Renegade out of that 1 hole, and maybe she won't have enough to hold off Conga Bell late. So I went 2, 1. And then for third, I went to the number 8, Mama Z, who was second in an optional claim, $20,000 starter allowance on the day after Christmas, trained by Rudy Rodriguez, Cornel Velasquez, 6-1 on the outside. 2, 1, and 8 in the Aqueduct 5th race.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, second half of today's action from the Big A.
I'm Steve Beck.
And I'm Seth Merrill.
Together, we're loose on the lead on Capital OTB, Sundays at 10 a.m. Why should they watch, Seth?
Sit down on Sunday, have a bagel, get some great racing conversation.
Cream cheese only, no jelly. Sundays, 10 a.m., loose on the lead, Capital OTB.
Using CapitalOTBBet.com is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Simply log on with your username and password from the homepage. 2. Fund your Capital OTB account through our Easy Money, Green Dot, or Visa MasterCard options. And 3, place your bet on one of our 3 easy-to-navigate wagering platforms, Capital Bet TV, Capital Bet Express, or Capital Bet Pro. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Here in upstate New York, no one provides bettors with more wagering options than Capital OTB. Our network of branch and easy bet locations stretches from the mid-Hudson Valley all the way to the Canadian border and west to central New York. So whether you need to place a bet, fund your Capital Bets account, or watch the next big race, all the action is just around the corner. A full list of our branch and easy bet locations can be found online at CapitalOTB.com. Capital OTB, the better and most convenient choice for wagering in upstate New York.
I got it. Watch me. I got it. Hey! I got something that makes me want to shout. I got something that tells me what it's all about. I got a move that tells me what to do. If you don't, brothers and sisters, then you won't know what it's all about.
I'm Mark Casano. Join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch. We'll inform, analyze, and welcome in the biggest names in racing. So join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch, right here on the OTB television network.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, the Handicappers Report alongside Jeff Carl. I'm Anthony Moore. We're up to race number 6 at the Big A. These will be for 3-year-olds, open company, maiden special weight, racing a mile.
Nice little maiden special weight race here. 9, 3, and 4. I'm going to go the number 9 Killer Crossover. Yeah, he doesn't have a great post. This is the 1 mile short run into that first turn. But I think this son of Indian Charlie has enough speed where he shouldn't get hung out. I've got the right rider. I read Ortiz aboard, obviously trained by Todd Pletcher. This is his 3rd career start, but it's his first time stretching out. He is, as I said, Indian Charlie, miles in the scope, but he's out of a Tisnow mare, so that should help him stamina-wise. And, I like the fact that, his 2 starts have been sprinting, but they've been nice and even. That usually bodes well when they stretch out. At Anthony, you got Todd Pletcher, I read Ortiz, 5-1 in the morning line. I don't know if that's going to hold up. Maybe that's a byproduct of the outside post. But I will certainly I'd take 4-1. I'd take 3-1 on Killer Crossover with the stretch out today. Like I said, I think he's got enough early foot and the right rider aboard where he should not get hung out too wide around that first turn. For second, I went with the number 3, Read the Mirage, who's 12-1 in the morning line. And I like the natural progression that he showed from his first start to his second start. And yeah, he was in a killer maiden special weight in his debut on November 30th. Surfing USA Scotland, who ran I think he's in the Withers tomorrow. Okay. I believe he is. Third was Juba, who was kind of one of my under-the-radar horses if he can get his act together down in Florida. So that was a pretty tough race. He got destroyed that race. Read the Mirage. But then he came back with a decent third at almost 20-1, and now he's going to stretch out. Son of Forestry, the mile is there within his scope, so at 12-1, let's put him in the second spot. For third, the number 4 is Howell. He also improved nicely from his first to second start, got beat 12 lengths going a flat mile, and then came back at a nice price, a little over 32-1. Took the lead turn for home, couldn't quite hold on. Finished second that day. He's 3-1 in the morning line. But I'm telling you, Anthony, if I get 5-1 with Todd Pletcher and I read Ortiz with an Indian Charlie of a Tisnow mare, I'm going to take it. 9, 3, and 4 in the Aqueduct 6th race.
On to the 7th race. We have 4-year-olds and up. These are claimers in for $12,500. They will race a mile and a 16th.
12, 5, and 7 here. I went with another horse with an outside post, but this one's going a mile and a 16th. And the number 12, Awake at T-Wire, as I said before with the horse in the previous, this horse has enough tactical speed. And this time I'm getting Jose Ortiz, which is not another bad rider. And I think with that tactical speed, probably won't get hung out and getting 6-1. And this horse is exiting a win for $20,000 on January 9th. Now dropping down to 12-5. I think they're just trying to keep those checks coming in. So this gelding by Wake at noon, I'm going to overlook that outside post. And sometimes when you're a rider, and you're going out there, you just got to think, you know what, this post position is not going to beat me. I'm still going to put my horse into the right spot, and I think Jose Ortiz will be able to do that. So if I get a little bit more value, I'll certainly go for it. Put the number 12, Awake at T-Wire, in the top spot. For second, I went with the number 5, Pasta Lover. who probably would like a little moisture in the track. 15-1 in the morning line. Set the pace in the slop last time and grudgingly, gave away. Finished fourth, got beat less than 2 lengths, but I think that should be able to, be forwardly placed today. I think the number 3, Portland Point, will probably be the pace of the race. This is a horse who's coming out of sprint races with Trevor McCarthy aboard coming into town, 20-1. That horse will probably be the pace setter, but I look for Postolova or Chris DiCarlo to kind of set up shop right behind him. Maybe he gets first run and can hold on at a decent price for second. And for third, the number 7, Terminus, who his last 4 starts, he's got 2 wins, a second and a third at this level. He's 8-1 in the morning line. I don't know if that's going to hold up. If you look at the number 11, Sovereign Default, 3-1 in the morning line, Anthony, but has been off since July and was claimed for $20,000 that day, now running for $12,500, claimed by Linda Rice. And you're a claiming trainer. Optimally, you're not looking to sit on a horse for several months before you run them back. So 3-1, I'm staying away from them, and I'm going to go some horses that might offer a little bit more value, 12, 5, and 7 in the Aqueduct 7th race.
On days when we run older horses, or I should say non-juveniles, 5.5 furlongs on the dirt more than once, I think that's more often than we ran it in the entire decade of the 90s. On to the 8th, State Breds. 4-year-olds and up, optional claimers in for 30. Non-winners of 2 other than dashing 5.5.
I went 3-1-2 entry here. Be Bullish ran second. He is part of the 1 entry. He's the 1A. I know Dave Jacobs will bring him back quickly. I don't think he's going to bring him back that quickly, especially when he finished up yesterday. He just got beat for $50,000, and he wasn't traveling all that well down the lane. I wouldn't be surprised to see he can take a dramatic drop next time out. But B. Bullish is out today. The number 3, Married to the Music. I think he's going to keep rolling. He appears to be the quickest of these. He has the 1 post for Galuccio and Cornelio Velasquez back aboard. He came off a little bit of a layoff and just dominated the entry-level allowance race, and now he's in the next level up. And from that 1 post, 5.5 furlongs, Cornelio's just going to let him rip right out of there. I think the only fly in the ointment, could be the number 8, Ready to Defer, who's ridden by CeCe Lopez, who's had a little bit of speed, but just the fact. Whether CeCe's going to chase Married to the Music around there, I think that would be suicidal, but he does have speed. He does have CeCe Lopez aboard. But just the fact that Married to Music is posted inside, as long as he breaks well, I think he should be able to clear Ready to Defer and be able to hold on for second. I went to the number 1, Ground Force. As I said, B. Bullish more than likely will be scratched today, was second yesterday. And I think Ground Force will be sitting right off that first flight, right behind Married to the Music and Ready to Defer. And we'll take the first run at Married to the Music. I don't think he's going to catch him, but I think he can hold on for second. For third, I have the Gary Contessa entry of Bellamy and Dan's Gold. Bellamy was second behind B. Bullish in his last race, and probably in the best form of his career. So let's put him in there in the third spot. This entry is 10-1. Dan's Gold, the 2B. His last 2 over the inner track have been pretty darn good. He won the same kind of race 2 back, and then was an even fourth in an overnight stake. So again, at 10-1, they give us some value to maybe throw in the mix. 3-1-2 entry in the Aqueduct 8th race.
And the daily racing form in the modern age, they have the January 30th race listed for the Bass Pass who wants to be bullish. My question would be, if he had been claimed, would he have to have been scratched today, since the paperwork would be different because he would have a different trainer?
Yes, yeah.
He would have to scratch out today, even if that
scratched.
trainer would want to wheel him right back. On to the finale. State Breds, 4-year-old and up, fillies and mares, maiden claimers in for 16, dashing 5.5.
That was a good stretch run, though, yesterday with those 2 night maneuver with
worked out well.
Taylor Rice and B. Bullish. I had Ortiz, but it looked like B. Bullish was going to be able to get the nod, but no, she dug in there. Taylor Rice doing a very nice job out there. In the finale, I'm going to go 4, 8, and 6. Here's number 4, No It's Not Me, is 8-5 in the morning line. And last time out on January 10th, kind of got into a little bit of duel and softened him up a little bit, but she held on well, only got beat a neck that day. I think she's fast enough to be able to clear this field. So again, if she gets loose on the lead today from Manny Esquivel, she's going to be hard to run down. Interesting enough, this is a daughter of Lawada Animo and never tried the turf in her career, so maybe that's something we'll look for in the future if she ever gets the opportunity to run on the turf. She's 8-5 in the morning line. For second, I went to the number 8, Canella Rose, who's 6-1 in the morning line. And Anthony, I thought last time when this daughter of Griffinite tried 2 turns, it might help her. Boy, was I wrong. The farther the run, the farther she got beat. But she's cutting back to a sprint today and should be running late, so let's put her in the second spot. Phil Teeter stays aboard. And for third and number 6, Rufus Ruth. She ran okay in her first inter-track race on December 22nd. Not a bad sign. She was third that day for maiden 20. Comes back here. Irada Ortiz aboard, 4, 8, and 6 in the Aqueduct finale. And
that wraps up our look at the Big A this afternoon on Capital Off-Track Betting TV 12. Our lineup gets underway with the Big A. Tampa, Gulfstream, Fairgrounds, Oaklawn Park, Santa Anita, Penn National, the Meadows, Harness, Yonkers Raceway, Woodbine, Australia A and Australia B. If you missed any of Jeff or my selections, please go to CapitalOTB.com. Click on the Handicappers Report. Also, you set up a Capital Bets account. You go to CapitalOTBBet.com. Look on the third race yesterday at Laurel. Listen to Dave Rodman's call. Watch Trevor McCarthy win while never having his feet in the irons entirely around the racetrack.
You know what? He's going to be a sore young man this morning. I'm going to tell you that much.
That's not good. Not good. And once you set up a new Capital Bets account, once you bet $50, Capital Off-Track Betting will put $50 into your account. Nothing like free money at the racetrack. Following the Handicappers Report, as per usual, Monday through Friday, will be Seth Merrill and Racing Across America. His Friday guest, Ron Nicoletti from Gulfstream Park, who is going to have apparently no turf racing for the third day in a row. Brian Spencer from the Fairgrounds, and Brian Nadeau from HorsePlayerNow.com. Even though Seth didn't spell player right, I can read it correctly if I get 2 tries. They will be taking a look at Saturday's stakes racing preview. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your Friday afternoon. We'll see you next time.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off-Track Betting.